Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're back on the anti-MLM videos, and I know these are everybody's favorites, so we're back, don't worry. But yeah, I've had some sporadic uploads just because we moved. So we just moved downtown Chicago. We live in like our dream apartment now. So if you want to check it out, we have like these amazing windows that's like our whole living room and like kitchen is all windows. Anyway. So if you want to go check it out, I have another video I just posted. I've been doing kind of like moving vlogs and stuff. So check it out. And it's not MLM related whatsoever, but I like to post different stuff here and there. So I appreciate you guys watching that stuff if you do. Today I wanted to do a kind of reaction video and go over a certain post that somebody sent me. I gotta be honest, it really triggered me. And not in a good way. It was real, I mean, I don't think you could be triggered in a good way, but to this day, I don't think I've seen anything more disheartening and just, I really don't have the words. I don't have the words for this post. It is so inappropriate, and it involves a girl promoting Arbonne using her dad who is dying of Parkinson's disease. So we're gonna go through it, and you might be wondering why I'm doing this video, and I'll get into that in a second. But I do want to say that a couple people have sent me this, so I don't, go out looking for these people. I'm not going to say her name because it doesn't matter, but it is an important learning moment, and it showcases a lot of different aspects and dimensions of MLM marketing that are not so great, but they're not uncommon either, which is, it's pretty sad to say that this is not something that I'm necessarily surprised by. It's a little surprising, but not necessarily surprising. But yeah, so somebody sent me this. I don't go out really anymore and like look for those kind of things like I used to, because people send me so many. So again, and by the way, I completely disavow you. If you go on this girl's page and you comment anything negative or nasty, you can't be part of the MLM club, not this one at least. So you can't be part of this business opportunity. But anyway, I just wanted to just get that out of the way. So anyway, you might be wondering, okay, if this girl's really, like you say, if this girl's really exploiting her father's illness to promote Arbonne, of course everybody's gonna realize that. Of course, you don't even need to make a video on this. What's the point, right? Here's what's important about making this video. If you go to the comments of this girl's post, okay, she left it up, it's still up right now. If you go to the comments of this girl's post, you will not see a single negative comment, right? That's because any negative comment that was out there, because there were some, have been deleted and have been censored, and everything has been censored because in MLMs, and so this is social media as well, but especially MLMs because it just seems to be very prevalent in this type of business opportunity and the way people operate. Things are very censored, and they appear exactly how the person presenting the information or presenting the business opportunity wants them to be presented, right? It's very calculated, it's very intentional, and this scenario is no different. So what surprised me about this initially, because I read this post in its entirety, right? And I'm gonna read it to you as well. But I went to the comments and I saw no negative comments. And I thought to myself, how can that be? How can people really not see how exploitive this is, how disgusting this is, how vile it is? How can people not see, and how can people not be saying anything? The people that are commenting are people who are already in their downline, right? So they're in the system with them, and it only benefits them to say, you're so strong, you're so brave, you're so vulnerable, you're the best, I love this business. Like, all the people commenting are not necessarily like fans or inspired strangers or anything like that. They're people who are already in the business. So I want you to keep that in mind. When you see a lot of comments on these people's things, chances are literally 75% of them are people who are already working in Arbonne or whatever MLM it is. Insert MLM here, okay? So keep that in mind. I see that every time like clockwork. It is universal across MLMs. Okay, here's some of the comments though. Somebody said, can I get info on this? Somebody else said, I'd love info. This post, crying emojis. Wow, this is so powerful. Thank you for sharing. Somebody said, I want to be a part of Arbonne. You have to understand that's exactly what she wanted out of this post, and that is why it makes it so sick to me. So this is a perfect example of, you'll see something that is objectively wrong, right? You should never exploit your father's illness to promote your direct selling company, your company, whatever. Something that you promote your own agenda. That's what it is. She's promoting her own agenda, okay? You should never do that. So the fact that there's no comments on this does not necessarily mean that it's okay. And the fact that there's a lot of comments, positive comments, does not mean that it's okay. It just means that it was carefully censored, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna read this post to you, okay? And it's pretty long, so just, hang in there. At the end, we're gonna go through all of it. I don't want anything to be taken out of context. That's why I'm gonna read it all the way through. I'm not gonna move anything around. I'm not gonna do anything, okay? I'm just gonna censor her name. And there's also two videos attached to this post and a couple pictures. And the video is so awful and gut-wrenching and heartbreaking because she gets her dad, who is again dying of Parkinson's disease, and it has obviously progressed very far to the point where it's very hard to make out what he's saying, and it's very hard for him. You can see him struggling to form words, and I think it's so upsetting that I can't even show you. It's so upsetting I can't even show you the video. I'm not kidding. So she's asking him to get on video and say, you should join Arbonne. She's having her, no joke, I'm not kidding about this because it's up and you can go watch it for yourself. This happens, okay? Backstory before I start, this girl's very high up in Arbonne, and she's one of the only people that has made money in this. Again, I'll recite this again. This is a statistic from the finance guy. He ran all the numbers. He runs all the numbers on MLMs pretty much. Most MLMs, the biggest ones. So I will link it below. But again, 99.7% of people in Arbonne lose money, okay? Or are losing money. So that's based on their income disclosure statement. That's not taken out of thin air. Those are income disclosure statements that the company has produced, okay? So that's what it's based off of. Keep that in mind. So she's the 0.3% that has made money. And this was 3.5 years ago that she started or something like that. So, all right, I'm gonna start reading it and we'll go through it after that. She writes, "Friends, I am about to share the most heartbreaking, truthful part of my life. This will be long, so a chunk of it will be in the comments section. And I'm not asking for sympathy. This is me shaking you. I want you to know that the one thing that we try to avoid, tragedy, sadness, sickness, death, happens. And the hardest and scariest part is it happens whether you're ready for the impact or not. My dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's when I was 12 years old. My entire life I struggled to find why something so sad, horrible, and scary would happen to a good man and an even better dad. He was full of life, loved riding his bike and golfing. He was class favorite in high school, a champion pole vaulter, owned a successful grocery store, and then became a successful light designer for Philips. He had a very stressful job that demanded too much of him, and as a result, the stress of his corporate job led to impacting him neurologically. This is where the Parkinson's set in at just 55 years old. He is first to know there is no such thing as job security, point blank. That lie you tell yourself about securing a job is never really true. He had to resign once his disability became worse because he couldn't keep up with the pace he once exhausted himself to keep up with. Nearly 3.5 years ago, he spent $300 for me to start my Arbonne business because I had $20 to my name. I was 21, a full-time student, and had no background in sales or being an entrepreneur. He, as a businessman, saw an opportunity unlike anything because the proof was in another Arbonne person, a 20-year-old brand new VP with Arbonne. Back 3.5 years ago, he could talk in full sentences and walk with a walker, with the occasional fall. This year has been hell for us. I think in the last 2 months, we have been in and out of the ER, rehabs, and doctor appointments more times than I can count on 2 hands. Major falls, pneumonia, wounds, hallucinations, heart failure, diabetes, and much more. Because of that decision 3.5 years ago, and because I was humbled by God to see the opportunity of time leveraging because of my dad's illness, this had to be it." She continues in the comments, "I was all in. I'm asking that if you read this and if you've been interested in Arbonne and we've chatted and you haven't seen fully the vision that I have for you, I beg you to jump in. In my life, I have battled with suicide, bullying, eating disorders, and depression. But to be here at 24 years old, I had to become a medical power of attorney, had to learn about Medicare and all kinds of things that I truly didn't want to have to know and watch my dad suffer. and it has been the hardest thing above all I have ever dealt with. But when you are 30 to 40 and your parents grow old, become ill, or tragedy happens, your job may give you some days off. But more than likely a corporate job, part-time job, full-time job won't give you the freedom to drop everything and leave when things happen. When you have to take care of a sick parent or a sick sibling or even a sick child, you have to be on call 24/7. It's consistent and doesn't ever really allow you to stop. It's hard, it's expensive, it's emotionally draining. But because of Arbonne, I have the privilege to work from my phone in waiting rooms and hospital rooms and have the freedom to make choices to choose when and where I want to be. I have an uplifting community all over the world that prays for my family. I have products that will keep me in the preventative side of health and give me the opportunity to share my story. Please hear me when I tell you with a dagger in my heart. When I took my dad on our very first free Arbonne trip as a thank you, he told me it was the best $300 he had ever spent in his life. Just my sign-up fee and products for me to use to get healthy for 30 days. It is such a blessing that I can see the vision for you and how this can impact your life ahead of time. This may or may not be for you, but you have to start to know. It's not just protein or fizzies or amazing skincare that will change your life. 3 years ago, I knew Arbonne was placed in my life to change my life. And now I know God gave it to me to change yours. It's the answer to your prayers like it was mine. My dad saw something in me and in Arbonne before I could ever see it in myself. And I see it for you. I will be vocal about our story until I die, and I will do Arbonne until the day I die. All it takes is one accident, one disease, one heartbreak, one tragedy to change everything, so prepare for impact. And one last truth bomb while we are here. If you think eating healthy is expensive and time-consuming, try illness. That will turn your world upside down. I know that was long, but again, didn't want to take anything out of context there because I've been accused of that before. When I did my Beachbody video, the girl actually responded. She'd said that I had chopped up everything to make it look bad. And I'm like, no, you actually had said those. I mean, you posted that video to your own YouTube channel, but okay. But go off. Now let's travel back to some of the worst parts of this, and there are many. I first think that it's very ironic. She starts this off by saying, I'm not asking for sympathy. This is me shaking you. So she's literally saying to you, look, I don't want sympathy. I just want you to join Arbonne. That's what she's saying. I mean, she's not, it's not me saying like, you know, trying to derive that from somewhere. I mean, she's saying that. I'm shaking you. Join Arbonne. I don't need sympathy about this. Who cares? I need you to join Arbonne right now. The most troubling thing that I think I've read in all my life is the part where she says he had a very stressful job that demanded too much of him. And as a result, the stress of his corporate job led to impacting him neurologically. This is where the Parkinson's set in at just 55 years old. Are you f***ing kidding me? Okay, let's just get this really clear, okay? She's saying that the stress of his corporate job, this is something that MLM Huns love to do. They love to shame anybody that works a corporate job, anybody that works a traditional job. Oh, you know those jobs with benefits, healthcare, guaranteed pay, you know those corporate jobs? Well, she's saying that the corporate job, the stressful corporate job that he worked, impacted him neurologically and caused his Parkinson's disease to set in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is exactly what she's saying. And she's using his Parkinson's disease to not only shame corporate jobs and blame them on the onset of his Parkinson's disease, right? And the neurological damage, which by the way comes from mainly genes. Nobody knows what causes Parkinson's disease, but I can tell you it's not a stressful job. Otherwise, everybody with a stressful job would have Parkinson's disease, okay? So it's mainly genetic and environmental factors. And I'll link that below from a medical website, not a MLM hun. She is exploiting her father's illness to shame and blame a corporate job, and in the same time leverage her agenda of trying to get people to join an MLM company and put that one on a pedestal. I mean, I'm physically ill here talking about this. And is anybody else seeing the problems with this? I've never seen anything like this before. Never. And I really, and I want to make it clear, this is not everybody that's in Arbonne. But they're no stranger to stuff like this. I've seen plenty of other things, people using death, people using illness, people using the tragedies of life, the hardships of life to promote MLMs and recruit people to join an MLM. So that is, to me, if not the one of the most troubling, the most troubling point in all of this, right? Another troubling aspect that I found was she notes that 3.5 years ago he had given her $300 to start her Arbonne business when she only had $20 to her name and no skills and was a full-time student. And in the same post, she says 3.5 years ago he could still talk in full sentences and walk with a walker with the occasional fall, right? So 3.5 years ago, by the way, if you're walking with a walker with Parkinson's disease, it's progressed pretty far, right? Because normal people at that age don't have to walk with a walker and can that's not, that's not an issue. Maybe this is just me, but she took $300 from her father who's dying of Parkinson's disease and walking with a walker. Personally, I don't see myself, and I'm not saying this to put myself on a pedestal, I'm saying I don't think most people would take $300 from their dad who's dying of Parkinson's disease, a progressive and heartbreaking illness that's unfair in every way possible. I wouldn't do that. I don't think many people would do that, especially when with a quick search of income disclosure statements you find that this is a scam, right? Or it appears to be that way, okay? I'm not gonna say anything's fact here, but it appears to be that way when 99.7% of people are losing money. I could not in good faith ever take a donation or an investment from somebody with those statistics, right? I find that personally wrong that she took money from her father. I would want him, especially at the point because she said he had to resign from his job. So I would say, look, you keep that money. That's for you and your hospital bills or your whatever. And again, I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal, and I also want to say, I am so sorry that this girl's family is going through this. Maybe I should have said that at the beginning, but it's obvious. I think we can all agree that what her family has experienced and what her father has experienced being diagnosed with that is unimaginable and completely unfair. And there is no way to explain it other than it is completely unfair. And I feel so sorry that they go through that. You cannot use your father's illness to promote your MLM, to recruit people, and to promote your own agenda. You can't. She goes on and she revisits her corporate job shaming tactics, right? So she says, 24 years old, she had to learn about all these things that she didn't ever think that she would have to worry about or want. She never wanted this to happen, right? Of course not. She became a medical power of attorney. She had to learn about Medicare, all that stuff. But then she goes on to say, when you are in a similar position at 30 or 40 years old, your parents are growing old, becoming ill, or tragedy happens, your job is not going to give you the same benefits my job will. Which, by the way, is not true. But she says your job may give you some days off, but more than likely a corporate job, part-time job, or full-time job won't give you the freedom to drop everything and leave when things happen. Yes, they will. It's called bereavement leave, okay? Most jobs will give you paid vacation days, time off, you get bereavement days, right? Some people get, I know for my facts, my dad gets like so much more time off than he's even working, okay? Jobs, if you work for a good company, they will give you that time. Because people understand that stuff happens, right? So she's saying, and this is her technically her main point, but she's saying that Arbonne gave her the time to spend with her dad, and she's in the same breath saying, your job's not going to give you that if you continue to work your corporate job. And when your kid gets sick or your family member gets sick and you need to take care of them, you're not going to have the same time that I do. If you joined Arbonne right now, you wouldn't have more time. You wouldn't be able to work from home. You'd likely be in more debt than you started in, right? And you would have less time because you're dedicating most of your time to trying to sell bullshit products that don't sell themselves, because I don't know anyone who wants to pay that much money for this stupid shit, for fizzies that contain less than a cup of coffee's worth of caffeine in them. You're spending time that you could be spending on a real job, right? On an education. Anything. A lot of these MLM people tell you to forego higher education. They love to say that. Or they love to say they dropped out. I think it's downright irresponsible to say that you're gonna have more time in an MLM, especially when you're at the top. You've seen so much. You've seen so many people fail at the business inevitably. I really feel like there should be a documentary on just people who are at the top, because I think there's really something wrong with them, to be honest with you. To see that much despair and that many people fail and continue to recruit with a, you know, in a clean conscience, with a good conscience. It's important to be aware of these things, because sometimes I think to myself, there's nowhere that these people wouldn't go. There's no place that's too low for them to stoop to, right? And I think that this post proves it. But anyway, I wanted to go through it because all of the reasons why may not be apparent to you, and if you go through the comments, nobody's saying this stuff, right? But it needs to be said that this is inappropriate, okay? Social norms help shape people and deter them from exploiting other people, right? This is a clear exploitation of her father's illness, which I think we can all agree is an objectively wrong thing to do. You should never exploit somebody's illness and use it for your personal gain, to promote your own agenda, whatever, okay? I just want you to use this as a learning tool and to be aware, and to use this as, you know, it might be hard to believe that somebody would use this as a selling tactic, but it is, right? You might be somebody, and you might know somebody who's diagnosed with Parkinson's, and you want to spend more time with them, and you want to take care of your family, or your dad's sick, or your mom's sick, or whoever, and you want to spend time with them, but MLMs are not the way to do that, okay? You'll lose money. You'll lose your time. You'll waste time you'll never get back. And that's what I need you to understand, that people will lie, and just because you wouldn't lie doesn't mean other people won't lie to you, right? So anyway, I think that's enough for this video. More MLM videos coming soon. I have a couple other things that I want to do. This one took a while, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like if you like these MLM videos. Subscribe if you're not already. Notifications on. And I will see you guys in my next video.